Welcome back to Chapter 1 of our Fire Emblem Engage low-tier LTC. Chapter 1 is a simple tutorial map, where Alear and Vander take on 4 corrupted enemies until Alear summons Marth on turn 4. We avoid having Vander chip any of the enemies in order to maximize chip XP for Alear, as we want her to promote by Chapter 11. And unlike most LTCs, Alear will have much more competition for EXP early on. In hindsight, we probably could have afforded to have Vander do some chip damage to increase Alear's chance of survival, as she will end up overshooting.
To be fair, Vander is banned anyway. If we can avoid using him while he's force deployed, let's do just that. As for units that we're actually allowed to use, let's talk about Failure. While her early game combat is fairly solid thanks to her synergy with Marth, it quickly falls off, at which point she pivots to a more supportive role. This is primarily thanks to her personal skill, which provides +3 attack and -1 damage taken to adjacent allies, which will remain useful throughout the run. Her universal support list is also quite useful, providing +10 hit in addition to the aforementioned bonuses. This is quite a contrast compared to most modern Fire Emblem protagonists being combat gods, but in the context of this run, it does at least make things more interesting, as we can't just make our force deployed protagonist our combat carry.
Once Alear awakens Marth, she can equip the rapier and wait in this forest tile. Thanks to the healing provided from Dragon Divine Speed, her survival is effectively guaranteed, so long as she doesn't miraculously crit each enemy before she can heal, while also getting hit by everything. That's going to be Chapter 1 completed in 4 turns. Let's move on to Chapter 2.
Chapter 2 is another tutorial map, consisting of 2 phases where we need to defeat Lumera. We are given 2 new units in Clan and Fram. Clan is our only early game mage, and is thus our second training project for the early game. He already needs to hit level 2 for Chapter 4 in an unrestricted LTC, but since we need him to fill in for Saline and to some extent Citrine, he's going to need a bit more attention to help make up for his poor base magic. Fram is our only staffer for quite some time, and her ability to chain guard will also be very important for protecting allies against breaks.
Back to the clear, we feed the archer kill to Alear, and then chip down Lumera with Vander and Clan in order to feed her to Alear on enemy phase. This requires Vander to land a 56% hit thanks to the thicket tile.
As your steward. No problem.
During the phase transition, the game will place Alear, followed by Vander, Clan, and then Fram. When it tries to place Clan in his usual spot, it sees that Fram is still occupying it, so it places him 1 tile up instead. This will allow Clan to kill the Axe Fighter from above, which baits Lumera to move. Her aggro range is any tile along the horizontal line running through the lower statue, which Clan is able to cross.
On the previous turn, Lumera was programmed to always attack Alear, but this time, she will go for whoever she has the most damage on, which is Vander thanks to effective damage from the Rider's Bane. This turns out to be in our favor, as he does the most chip damage on counter. He's also positioned in such a way that Lumera will be unable to canter onto a thicket, so we won't have to deal with any sketchy hit rates this time. We then have Vander suicide into Lumera, hoping to kill off our banned unit. Unfortunately, since this is a mock battle, he'll come back in the next chapter.
Well, I wouldn't exactly call that unfortunate. Good luck doing Chapter 3 without him.
You know what? That's completely fair. We already have our fair share of Vanderlist maps coming up anyway. At least with his extra chip damage, we'll be able to feed Lumera to Alear on enemy phase again, allowing her to get some extra XP from this Lance Fighter. That's going to be Chapter 2 completed in 4 turns. Let's move on to Chapter 3.
Chapter 3 is the last of the early game tutorial maps, and easily one of the shakiest clears. With Alear and Clan as our primary training projects, Chapter 3 is especially frustrating, as it's full of lance enemies that break Alear, while Clan's damage is unimpressive outside of the boss. We feed this sword fighter to Clan, while Alir and Frem advance towards the top of the map. Alir avoids using her full movement, partially so that Frem can keep up, but also to keep the incoming enemies close enough for our soon-to-join allies to reach them. She ends up dodging the Lance Fighter for 4 XP, which is nice, but not needed.
At the end of enemy phase, we're joined by Alfred, Boucheron, and Etier. Of these three, Alfred is by far the most important thanks to his calf movement and decent bulk. He's definitely no Vander, but he'll have to do.
It's a good thing he's no Vander. That means we can actually use him in this run.
Better to be mediocre than banned. I like the way you think. Alir moves up to face the next group of enemies, while Fram will chain guard to protect her from getting broken. Because Alir dodged and attacked the Lance Fighter, we unequip Alfred to avoid finishing him off on enemy phase, as we'd rather feed him to Alir instead. Placing a unit here to get chain attacked by the Lance Fighter also baits the Javelin Flyer down, instead of going after Alir.
As for our other units, well, we need all the help we can get in the early game, so we'll take anything at this point. Boucheron's hit rates really aren't ideal, but he still has 1-2 range and has decent bulk. Etier's hit rates are better, and access to bows is useful in a couple of places, but she takes like 1 hit at best and usually gets doubled.
1 hit at best? Well, we'll see her take an important big hit very soon, and I'm not just talking about this upcoming flyer.
That is true. Sometimes 1 hit is all you need.
On turn 3, we pull back with Alir and Lodestar Rush the Lance Fighter. This positioning also allows her to provide her personal skill against the Javelin Flyer. With Boucheron's chip and chain attack, this enables Clan to do exactly enough damage to pick up the kill. This setup is only possible if the Flyer attacked Alfred from either 2 up or 1 up 1 left. If he was attacked from 2 left, we'd have to reset. Fram takes a vulnerary to regain the ability to chain guard, while Alfred moves into position to face the right side Flyers on enemy phase. We prefer to do this with Alfred over Vander, not just because Vander will be gone next chapter, but also due to his higher accuracy.
Conveniently, the Sword Fighters suicide into Alir before the Lance Flyers attempt to break her. That being said, we are going to want to dodge the first flyer for Alir's XP. Dodging the second flyer won't be necessary, but she does so anyway. The first Lance Flyer also occasionally attacks Alir from the right, and if they do that, then Etier needs to attack from 2 spaces down below what we did here.
After Vander chips the boss, Clan finishes her off to get his first level up. Unfortunately, he only gets speed, so if he's going to want to be our magic carry, we're going to need a little more than that. For now at least, that 1 point of speed is all he'll need for the next chapter. Alfred sets up the archer kill for Alir, while we move Etier away from the flyer so we can feed her to Alir on enemy phase with the help of Fram's chain guard. Had Alir not dodged the flyer, Boucheron would chip the flyer here. That's going to be Chapter 3 completed in 4 turns. We'll see you next time for the true beginning of the low tier challenge.